Mr. Graham, it's me, T, from the Pattersons, taking trains to Tibet. Well, Sheppy, what Sheppy is, I won't tell you who Sheppy is. Well, if you was in South Africa, well, we're not in South Africa now, we're in India, so you don't need to know. Anyway, he sent me something. He's an academic. Well, he's something. Anyway, there's this professor, somebody wrote a paper about in South Africa they have this whole First Nations, Khoisan, I say Khoisan, that's wrong, the San people. It's actually the San people. My wife has lineage in the San people. The point is this, right? He wrote this thing saying, like, all these names that they got for themselves, they're like fake names, brought up by you see? I'm going like, oh, somebody who's thinking like I'm thinking. Now remember, here's the thing. Here's what I like people to understand. And this is also why I want people to start talking into a thing. Get yourself a channel, whatever platform, and just talking, right? Because you'll find there's other people out there like us. Oh, by the way, don't look at the comments. Don't. That's no. Because then you'll get all kerfuffled and knock yourself out. But it brings up this thing. A while ago, a few postings ago, I was trying to explain the difference between autochthonous, which is a geological term, and indigenous, right? So I'm going to go into it right now because this is going to be, how we say, instructive to some people, especially this is a day. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. So we deal with. I deal with posting about stuff in the U.S. of A. Right. On Wednesdays it's the world kind of thing. On Thursdays it's audio drama. Yay, audio drama. On Fridays it's like sort of like a week whatever I missed, week wrap up, something like that. On Saturdays, whatever comes to my mind. Sundays I do a reading, and right now I'm doing to go off while I'm here in India. Just a little reading, then I riff off it. And on Mondays it's a me day. I talk about me. Now you don't have to do that for me. Do whatever for me you want, right? I should say, okay, let me say this real so you understand. When I'm doing this, sometimes I talk real fast, and I'm always non sequiturs, just stuff like that, and that's done on purpose, by the way. Even though sometimes the sound, I suggest if you sound like put your headphones on and raise the sound so you can hear what I'm saying if you're really interested, right? I'll give you more instructions some other time. But here's the thing. Right now, with the advent of all that's going on in the political sphere, people are getting all upset. I mean, you got a lot of Negro-peans coming up with ideas of like 70 years ago, something that say Adam Clayton Powell Sr. came up with. They're trying to do the same kind of tactics, right? The world has radically shifted, right? I mean, and protest and all that stuff. Look, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. he's not on his platform anymore. He's suspended that because he's 95 years old and Anyway, but he has a book. We call it compensatory concept. It's about the code, right? But when he was broadcasting transmission, doing his transmission every Tuesday, right? To me, I would listen to that. And on basically on Sundays I go through the book, whatever have it. And but if you listen to him, oh man, such wisdom from a 95-year-old. I mean, and he's been out there in his struggle. He has his lane. He deals with what he calls racism, white supremacy, right? Now, one of the many things he said, many times he said, boycotts, they mean absolutely nothing. So you got these Negro-peans. I shouldn't call names. Okay, I'm sorry. One of the things about Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., you're not supposed to call names, not call people names, except for what they call themselves. So something like, say, the person's called themselves the Reverend Al Sharpton, right? Well, you don't be calling them a Negro-pean and you're a this and you're that. You don't say that, You say, oh, it's Reverend Sharpton, right? In fact, it's good I bring it Reverend, because some of these people don't want to leave the scene at all. He wants to boycott, I think. I hear it. He wants to boycott something or another, right? Well, let's go to boycotts. Boycotts, they've been out of phase for a long time. Because one thing, if you try to boycott something, remember, these companies now, this is not the 40s or the 50s or the 60s, right? If you can write a letter and do something like that. This is not the 70s where you might be able to cheat, might be able to boycott. Certainly not the 80s or the 90s when these companies they've morphed and they own everything. Bill Gates, he don't even deal with his initial company anymore. He's up there dealing with pharmacy and what do you call that, land, and all that kind of stuff. So if you try to boycott a product or a store, right? Well, good luck. It ain't gonna work. You see, it's an old tactic. So you have to have new tactics, right? In other words, they do something. When you do something, they react to it to counter your doing. Then you've got to do something to react to counter what they done did. But every time you try to react, you're still reacting on the same plane you've been reacting to. So you're still here and there. They're up there. They're gone. They umbrellaed you. They surrounded you. They understand you. Here we go. Overstand you. Sideways. They got you surrounded. As far as tactics and strategy, I'm telling you, let's call it gradations of melanated people. Let's call it that way. The gradation of melanated people that we got in the world today is like for instance, the Super Bowl's coming up, and there's going to be a black quarterback. There's his melanin is up there. You know what I mean? It's got a lot of melanin, and there's going to be basically a quarterback that has less melanin, right? Because he has a European, obviously a European mother, obviously a heavily melanated father, and so with that, who you gonna root for? Anyway, the point is this: if you spend your time in this day and age trying to fight in the belly of the beast, trying to fight the beast as you're in his belly. In fact, you move from his belly to his duodenum. Ask Yaki what it is, right? Right before it goes into your intestine, it's like it goes there. It's like it goes to the stomach and it goes to this thing. It's like a factory, right? And then it goes to your small intestine. Then you go to your large intestine, and then you're out. Well, at this point in day, all the protesters and the people they're fighting the good fight, right? I'm telling you. Some folks are in the small intestines, some folks are in the large intestine, and the beast is ready to poop you out. Just letting you know. Now, the question is, well, how are you going to fight the beast in the belly? How are you going to fight the belly of the beast when the beast is busy moving you through his belly, and it's going to get rid of you? You need to be outside of the belly of the beast. Now, the good news is that, I am through trying to have these discussions with people and trying to get them to understand what's going on. Your fight, if you're fighting against the beast, right, is no longer in the beast's belly. Your fight, luckily for us, is Africa. There are certain forces in Africa in several ways that are coming together to do what they need to do. For instance, you need to be fighting them people that's in the Congo trying to rip that away. And that's a whole, that has so many moving parts, unbelievable. I mean, somebody like it used to be Kagame, Paul Kagame, the head of Rwanda, right? He was Bill Clinton's boy back in the day, right? But since then, he's shifted over, he shifted over to what I call Commander Ibrahim right now, or the Sahel people, right? You got the SADC, the southern kind of thing, just got a new president. Botswana, they've had a lot of people, but Botswana, and he's like amazing, right? It's so amazing. So you're spending your time and your energy, Mr. Neely Fuller says, all we have is time and energy. You're spending your time and your energy in the duodenum trying to beat up on the beast when you should be outside of the beast, because that's where the action is. And not that Africa's going to go, or these forces Africa are going to go and attack the beast. They don't have to. They can become a bigger beast than the beast. Are you following me on this? Come on, follow me on this. Follow me on this. And so that's what you should be doing. Boycott, whatever you think you're doing, it ain't happening, right? Now, let me go to this other thing, because the thing that Sheppy sent me is very instructive. And I said this, I'm going to reiterate what I was saying before. There's a thing called autochthony. Autochthony is a geological term. In other words, if you have, here, I have a ruby in my muti bag, right? And this ruby came from the ground here in Oroville, right? And it's a rough thing. It doesn't look like, it's not all polished up or anything like that. And it got out. They pulled it out of the ground. They say about let's call it 60 years ago, right? So if they put this, if they did experiments, they would find that this came from the Tamil Nadu state of India specifically, right outside of Pondicherry. That's what they can tell. So this ruby that's in here, the rough ruby is in here, is autochthonous to this area. Okay, that's what it is. Now, so if you're autochthonous to someplace, then you'll come from that land. If you're indigenous to someplace, then you could have migrated to that land, and over a time, well, let me not confuse you with that. Let me give you a solid example. Let me go to like I tell people to know themselves, let me go to my, since I'm an audio dramatist, and in other words, I create my own narrative, I'm a classic American African, or Negro, whatever you want to, whatever people call it these days, right? And that I can prove it just by saying, my father was a one-night stand with my mother. Okay, you don't understand that. Let me put it this way. I have 6 brothers and sisters, right? Each has a different father, right? My father, right? My mother had this one-night stand, had no memory, suppressed the memory. She, as 5150 would say, she belonged to the streets, but no, hey, it's my mama. No, we have I'm appreciative of her, because she did maybe I was up there and I said, hey, I want to be born to that existence right there and do that, right? So I came through them, which also means I'm one of a kind. I'm one of a kind. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me tell you what that means. And since I don't know who my daddy was, let me put this candle out. I don't want it to go down too soon. I got everything going. This means that since I don't know who my father is, but the rumor has it he was a traveling musician, a percussionist to be exact, right? Well, I can't speak by me because I have no musical chops. Okay, I do have a talking drum, an altopan, and I do play the berimbau, was a capoeira, but no, right? So now I have to make up this story about my daddy, because I don't know who my daddy was, and I have to have some sort of grounding. I happen to have traveled a lot. Been to Cuba, I know I don't come from Jamaica, because nothing about that. Cuba, I think some strain was through Cuba, right? Down to Belize, definitely Belize, right? Colón, Panama, are definitely there. Brazil, definitely there's some strain in there because of things that happened. West Africa, I almost got snatched by my ancestors. But I say snatched, I can have a different interpret. In the door of no return, in Gorée Island, in Dakar, in Gorée Island, Senegal, right? Almost got snatched up there. In the Gambia, I saw my third eye in the Gambia. So, really, saw it for a period of time. So I know from West Africa, and then I did, because of because of the VA, they did some sort of thing there, and they traced me to, I think, Congo. But I did this trip backwards. In other words, my middle passage, I reversed my middle passage, and now so I'm very comfortable. Now with that information, even before the information, I made the story about my daddy, right, or my great whatever daddy, right, and it's this, because from the Garifuna people or Garifuna people, however you want to pronounce it, English or Spanish, whatever. Here's what happened with them. There was this I'm gonna tell you the story. I'm gonna make up the narrative. Right? There was a slave ship, that came, and slave ship was manned by this really mean slave guy, right? But it had some trouble, and so it had to had to stop at this port, stop at a port to get repaired. Right? The port happened to be it's the St. Vincent. St. Vincent. Let's say St. Vincent. Doesn't matter what island down there, right there. And that island had a reputation to have fierce warriors and whatever have you. So, but the guy said, So he let the slaves out on the land as the ship was being repaired. The captives, I should say, because they weren't enslaved. They weren't enslaved. They were enslaved, but not slave doing the slave thing yet. So the captives went and they sort of negotiated with the people that were there. Now these people came up from South America. They were the Arawaks, and they sort of conquered the original people that were there, the autochthonous people that were there, right? So now these Arawaks have been there for a while. We can call them indigenous. Let's just say it's indigenous because okay. So now what happens? I guess the enslaved, the captives, they sort of negotiate, say, hey, look, man, and they said, okay, we know what to do. So they dug this big hole, right, and they hit him in there. When the captain, who had other cargo, whatever, had to get it to wherever he's going to in the States, right? Maybe it was a Cuban port or the Jamaican port, whatever they were going to, right? He ain't got time. He said, first they looked for him, and then they said that because of racism, whatever, they said, these because they had a reputation to be fierce warriors, fierce. They said, they probably ate him. So, hey, we ain't got no time for this. We got insurance anyway. Let's get out of here. So they got out of there. When they got out of there, the autochthonous people let them out, So what we're going to do now? Hey, well, and then one thing led to another. And there's a lot of boinking going on. And then what happened is then you had basically the highly melanated people from St. Vincent, St. Thomas, St. Vincent, one of those. Right? And then you had the guys that came up. So let's say a little less melanated. But as it time came, the heavily melanated people, they became the real fierce warriors, right? Now, here's where it gets good. England had this tiff with, France. Had this tiff with France. So England goes to and they know about this island, they know about all the fierceness. They go to the island, whichever one it was, and they ask, they asked the heavily melanated, I would say, who were the fiercest fighters, and say, hey man, we got this tiff with France, maybe you should help us, and you help us, and so the heavily melanated people said, nah man, that's the European, that's you white boys fight, man. We ain't in that, right? So they just went up about their way. Then the English, whoever, the English, it was English. The English, they went to the slightly less melanated people, say, hey, look, we got this tiff, and they say, sure, we'll help you. Right. Now, when that happened, then the French, they go to the heavily melanated people, say, hey, look, hey, there's a battle there, why don't you help us, because they tell you, and they say, oh boy, okay, yeah, we'll help you. Right. It ends up, hold the story right there, cliffhanger, right? That captain, that captain that went whatever, he's the one that went and got turned around or whatever, his head got right at some particular point, I don't know, like that, and he's the one that made that song about what's that song? The slave song I'm not forgetting the song. It'll come to me, or maybe not, right? This guy, man, I'm getting messed up, man. I gotta get that slave song. It's in my head. It's coming out. The lost soul. I was lost and now I'm found. That song. The lost and now I'm found. He completely reverted, and now he's like anti-slavery. Okay. Leave that alone. Let's move that around. Let's go back to the fight. So they had to fight, and then the English win and the French lose, right? So the English goes to their guys that help them, the slightly less melanated people say, "Well, what do you want?" They say, "Hey, those heavily melanated people, they've been, they we got to get rid of them because after a while, man, they taking all our, women out. They ruin it." And so the English, who knew all about, because they're seafaring people, they knew all those areas. They had control over them. They said, "Okay, we know what to do." So they took them away. They took the heavily melanated folks away and dumped them on Raritan Island. And that's in Honduras. And now Raritan Island is nothing but rocks. You can't make this up. Oh, I guess I am making it up. It's nothing but rocks, right? And so those heavily melanated people say, "Hey, nothing but rocks here. We gotta do something here." So they sort of migrated up to British Honduras, right? Which now is called Belize, right? And they also migrated down, well, there was in Honduras, more towards Honduras, the top of Honduras, and then they also came on down to like Nicaragua and all on down the coast, all the way down, all them down there, all the way down to Colombia. So all on the coast, you got these people that are basically Garifuna, if you want to say it that way. And that's how those settlements have said. But all in Belize, they have the thing like that, and that's how they roll. And they weren't really in Belize, for instance. They were the slavery, or if you want to call it that, the incarceration. Well, it's sort of different because they was getting mahogany, right? So they get the mahogany down. They get the mahogany down. This is in Belize, down to what's called Belize City, right? They get down there and they get paid. Now this kind of, remember, the so-called masters and the enslaved all work together because they get this mahogany, which goes like, ooh, long cash, right? But when they got down to Belize City, they just drink. That's why if you go to, I don't know if it's still there, if you go to Belize City, there's this port, there's the thing you see, there's a lot of bottles down at by the port. Don't matter. I'm just saying, something happens, right? Then they said, "Hey, we ain't got no money. Let's go back and do something." They do that and they do it all over again. Right? So the slavery was there because the enslaved and the masters, they all worked together because they're trying to make that money, even the master made more. Okay. So that's my father's line. That's my story. That's my narrative, and I'm sticking to it. Right? Now, having said all that, let's fast forward up to here. Now, you do know that indigenous means you're indigenous basically to that it's not really a land, to that country. So, United States wasn't born until 1776. So technically, and remember, the United States of North America is a nation of laws. That's why they get over. They change the laws. Or if you can change the law, or you can twist the law, you can manipulate the law, then you can. So, anybody that was around or doing something in 1776 is basically, how do you say, indigenous to the United States of North America. Yes, that means the Pilgrims, the all the rest, the enslaved, all them people like that. The autochthonous, some of the autochthonous people, they're also indigenous, right? In other words, the people and even that thing, they're indigenous to it. So you can be autochthonous and indigenous at the same time. Follow me on this. Because when your country is born, if you're autochthonous to the area, you also are indigenous to that country. I'll let you academics argue about that. In fact, if you're going to argue with me about this, we're going to do it 60s style. That's what we need. We need to do this 60s style. I'll keep on going. I'm sorry. I got this. Here's 60s style. And when I grew up, where I cut my thing, or like I say, bona fides, bona fides, or whatever, right? When we was doing political arguments, right? There wasn't a lot of drugs. There wasn't no drinking. There was a lot of smoking, right? We would say we start some discussion at 6 o'clock in the evening, right? We go all night long to 6 o'clock in the morning and still not resolve the thing. The classic example is, Ella Josephine Baker, Ella Baker, everybody says, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. When she was with the young people at SNCC, they would have these literally smoke-filled rooms. She had asthma. She would take a handkerchief, just put on it, and just stand there. If they had a question, they would ask her a question, and she would answer it. She wasn't telling them what to do. She advisory, right? think of it as a real think tank before the think. In fact, everything we were think tanking before the think tanks. Then they did it, and then we stopped that because we do for a number of reasons. So what happens if we're gonna have this discussion about all kinds of things? Then right now we just had Martin Luther King, and then I think we're gonna have Malcolm's thing in May. Okay, between now and Malcolm, let's say Malcolm's week, which also happens to be Africa Day area time period around there. Malcolm's 19. Between now, make the whole week. Then we should that week, instead of throwing parties or saying how great Malcolm was. No, and we should dedicate ourselves to what Malcolm would do. First of all, Malcolm was a reader, so read between now and Malcolm's celebrated birthday. Read, right? Then when that week comes, then we should have these discussion sessions, long discussion sessions. No alternate states, no drugs, no alcohol, no smoking, nothing like that. You're gonna be pure. So you got from now until May, whatever, to get your body together, to get all the poisons out, get your mind together, and then we're gonna have discussions and long discussions. We're gonna hash this thing out. That's what we should do. Because, some of us are both autochthonous, because I do have on my maternal side I do have American Indian in there. So some of us are autochthonous and indigenous. Some of us are just indigenous. You see? So here is the problem. And a lot of these people when you come after that thing, you come to the United States and you become a naturalized citizen, then you're not autochthonous and you're not indigenous to it. Even the so-called the Indians, right? A lot of them are like, some of them, like Leonard Peltier just got out. Well, he's autochthonous and indigenous, right? But there's a lot of folks, they bought their way into being indigenous, if you will. Or they whatever they do, and a lot of them betray. They become casino owners and not help. Whatever you understand. Okay, let me stop there because it's getting kind of long. Let me land my helicopter here. We'll talk more another time. Not next week. I'm sure. Just say that this is something you should think about, right? Because not everybody in your indigenous is really indigenous, There's some of them came, never mind. You'll figure it out, all right? Okay, got to go. Talk to you another time.